I've lost all the aces from this deck of cards. I just can't deal with this. The tarot aces, those mysterious hands appearing from clouds, brandishing symbols and having a bit of a float about. These are the cosmic building blocks of the universe, what Aleister Crowley refers to as blind forces, as they're neither good nor bad. Each ace is the distilled vibe of its suit in its purest unfiltered form. There's no conflict, no storyline, just a big old bag of possibility. You can think of the aces as the seed packets of the tarot. They don't contain the whole garden, just the instructions, potential and the promise of what could grow, if you water it, and give it some sunlight. And don't leave it on the windowsill for 3 weeks next to the dead basil. They show up at the very beginning of something new, before you've even decided whether you're planting roses, radishes, or accidentally summoning the evil turnip monster. Ah, not the evil turnip monster! Now they can look a bit sparse compared to some of the other cards, but don't be fooled by their minimalism. Aces are loud in their silence, they resonate. They're the moment just before you speak, just before the music starts, just before the match is struck. They hold the full potential of the journey ahead, but they haven't picked a direction yet because that's entirely up to you. That can make them a little bit tricky to interpret. In the pip cards we've got all these scenes of people being broke or conniving, or harvesting suspiciously symbolic looking fruit from bushes, but the aces don't show any of that kind of stuff. There's no story, no setting, no soap opera, just a cloud, a hand, a symbol and a vibe. That can make them feel a bit vague, like the tarot equivalent of someone whispering in your ear, "Something is about to happen," and then buggering off before they've told you what it is. So if you find the aces to be a bit abstract or floaty, don't worry, you're not alone. But that's what we're here for. We're going to break each one down, element by element, suit by suit, so you can start to see what they really mean when they show up in a reading. Whether it's a burst of creative energy, a sudden emotional opening, a moment of mental clarity, or a whiff of a new opportunity, we'll translate that mystical cloud hand arrangement into something that you can actually work with. The aces and the classical elements. So before we start waving flaming sticks around or drinking from divine goblets, we're going to quickly talk about the 4 classical elements. Regular viewers will know that I've covered these a lot in other videos, but it's because they're so important. Basically, each ace is the elemental spirit of its suit, distilled into card form. They're like opening scenes in 4 very different movies. The Ace of Wands is the spirit of fire. This is the spark of life. Passion, desire, action, creation. The opening scene of a Chuck Norris movie, who once set fire to one of his farts. That fart is now known as the sun. The Ace of Cups is the spirit of water. This is where we find emotions, intuition, love, connection. This is the opening scene of a deeply emotional film. Soft focus, tragic violin music, and a couple crying in a canoe. You're not sure why they're crying or why they're in a canoe, but you can feel it. You're already sobbing, the couple are sobbing, the canoe is sobbing. The Ace of Swords is the spirit of air, the realm of thought, logic, words and communication. The opening scene of an intellectual indie drama, the kind you watch late at night in the hope that someone's going to get their tits out, but nothing happens. A stark room, a ticking clock, a man in a turtleneck furrows his brow, pauses dramatically and says, "Language is violence!" Fade to black. The Ace of Pentacles is the spirit of earth, groundedness, material life, the body, money, farming. This is the opening scene of a financial drama. Stock tickers flashing, a man in an 80s suit screaming "Sell!" into an enormous mobile phone. There's a goat in a Versace collar. Nobody knows why. So each ace embodies the birth of its element. Not the full journey, not the outcome, just the divine ding when the idea first appears, and the first scene in our 4 movies. Rick Astley says you can borrow any of his Disney movies. Ooh, that's very kind of him. Except for App. He's never going to give you up. Rulers of cosmic real estate. So I talked in my video on chord cards about how the pages and the aces have got 3 star signs each. This comes down to the fact that the other cards in the minor arcana rule quadrants of time. So if we look at that as a big zodiac cake, then the pip cards get 10 degrees each, or 1/3 of a star sign. They have to share their sign, and they only get a slither, enough to arouse their appetite for cake, but nowhere near enough to satisfy it. As for the kings, queens and knights, well, you better believe they're not dining on crumbs. They get a good 30-degree helping with extra marzipan because they're all high and mighty. They shouldn't get too excited though. When the aces and pages show up, they immediately buy the venue. They don't rule quadrants of time, so you won't see them checking their watch. They rule quadrants of space, so they get a good 90-degree portion each with a doggy bag for later. Now some people will say that they just rule the 3 signs of their element, but that's not how we do things at Kippy's Quest. I know I sound like a broken record, but we follow the Golden Dawn method here, and that puts the aces and pages in charge of a solid quarter of the Zodiac wheel. If you could split the Earth into 4 equal sections, starting at the North Pole, then the Ace of Wands rules the quarter of the globe over Asia, so that gives us Cancer, Leo and Virgo. The Ace of Cups rules the quarter over the Pacific, where we find Libra, Scorpio and Sagittarius. The Ace of Swords is in charge of the slice over the Americas, so that's Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces. And the Ace of Pentacles rules over Europe and Africa, which gives us Aries, Taurus and Gemini. The aces don't just represent raw elements, they oversee vast stretches of the zodiac, blending and anchoring energies in ways that go beyond the simple fire with fire model. They don't follow the zodiac, they govern it. You're not looking at 4 cards, you're looking at 4 domains of reality. 4 different aces, 4 different worlds. Obviously we need to talk about the Kabbalistic tree of life and where the 4 aces sit. Now I've been through this at great length in my other videos and I'm wary of repeating myself too much, so I'll keep it brief. For anyone who doesn't know, the Tree of Life is a map of creation made up of 10 spheres, collectively called Sephirot and individually called Sephira. I got that the wrong way round when I made my video for the High Priestess. Cretin! Anyway, these Sephirot are considered to be 10 emanations of God. It shows how energy moves from pure spirit at the top to physical reality at the bottom, so sort of like the supply chain of creation. A metaphysical delivery system that brings divine inspiration all the way down into your living room. Now there's 2 ways of looking at the tree. One is to see it as a single glyph split into 4 sections to denote the 4 Kabbalistic worlds. This works best when we're working with the major arcana. Each of the 10 spheres are connected by 22 paths, and on each of those paths is a tarot card from the trumps, together with a letter from the Hebrew alphabet. The other way to see it is as 4 whole trees each living in a different world, and this is the best way to look at it when we're dealing with the minor arcana, because it allows us to split the cards into suits. The aces all sit right at the top in Keter, the crown, where everything begins and nothing is defined yet. It's like the big bang of spiritual ideas, blindingly bright and slightly disorienting. However, each of the 4 aces lives in a different world. The highest of the 4 worlds is Absolute, the world of emanation. This is the world of divine will and pure spirit, and it's where we find the Ace of Wands. You can think of it as the brainstorming phase in God's notebook. It's abstract, fiery and utterly unknowable. Nothing exists here, yet. It just wants to. We can just faintly hear the sound of a hungry cat. Next is Briar, the world of creation. This is the realm of emotions, imagination and higher concepts, and it's home to the Ace of Cups. It's where ideas start taking form, but they're still kind of floaty, like when you dream about opening a cafe for cats but you haven't told anyone yet. Next we find Yetzirah, the world of formation, the realm of thought, reason and the intellect, and also home to the Ace of Swords. Now we're sketching floor plans and buying cat furniture. The idea's taking shape, but it's not real just yet. Finally we've got Osir, the world of action. This is the physical world, the realm of realization, doing and building, and also where we find the Ace of Pentacles. This is where you make it real. The doors open, the cats move in, and one of them immediately knocks over the tip jar. So each ace is like the divine spark of its element, delivering the first pulse of energy from Keter straight into its assigned world. They're not finished products, they're the starting gun. L'Homme de Ket says to say the ace is just the lowest numbered small card of its suit is like saying Keter is just the first Sephira on the Tree of Life. Ultimately there are not 56 cards in the minor arcana of the tarot, there are only 4, the 4 aces. The other 52 cards live inside the 4 aces.
But what does it all mean?
So now we know what the aces are, let's have a think about what they mean when they rock up in a reading. The Ace of Wands is the root of fire, and fire doesn't wait patiently. It leaps, it burns, it wants. Wands are your willpower with a caffeine addiction. This is the card that kicks the door down and yells, "I have an idea," while you're still sitting on the toilet. It's the flame that starts the project, the crush that ignites the romance. It's the yes moment that gets you out of bed and into a questionable new hobby involving Morris dancing. It's also about passionate new beginnings, so having it off with someone for the first time connects to this card. It's pure go, not the whole journey, just the urge to begin, the pilot light of the soul. There's no guarantee that you'll follow through. This is fire after all. It might blaze brightly and vanish, or it might become something that changes your life. But for now, it's here, it's hot, and it wants to move. When this card shows up in a reading, it's basically shouting, do the thing. Even if you're not entirely sure what the thing is. Trust the energy. There's a reason the wand is sprouting leaves. Life wants to happen. You just have to say yes before Chuck Norris roundhouse kicks your hesitation into next week. The Ace of Cups is the root of water, and water takes the shape of whatever it's poured into. It can nourish or drown, soothe or flood. The cups are your inner world, sensitive and dreamy, cries like a baby at a sad film. This is the card of open-hearted overflow, a new emotional beginning, a spiritual awakening, a sudden realization that you love everyone, especially Barry Manilow, who writes the songs that make the ladies cry.
He makes me bloody well cry as well.
It's the first flutter of connection, romantic or otherwise, the moment your heart goes thump and you realise there's something deeper here. Aces are beginnings, and the Ace of Cups begins with a full heart and nowhere to pour it. Yet. When it shows up in a reading, it's the universe handing you a chalice and saying, go ahead, feel things. Whether it's love, forgiveness, or a really good cup of tea, it's about emotional renewal. Let it in and let it flow. Just maybe keep the tissues handy, and try not to fall out of the canoe. The Ace of Swords is the root of air, and air is invisible but everywhere, just like opinions on the internet. Swords can cut through confusion, but they can also cut you, so handle with care. This card is the sharp breath of insight, the aha moment, that brainwave that slices through the fog like a katana made of truth. It doesn't care about your feelings, it just wants the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the uncomfortably sharp and socially awkward truth. When the Ace of Swords shows up in a reading, it can be a good time to start planning something, not just dreaming about things, but setting things in motion and getting specific. It can also be a message from the universe that it's time to cut through the noise, speak clearly, think precisely, or finally send that message that you've rewritten 20 times. Yes, Susan does need to know that she's wrong. Just don't forget that swords cut both ways. Clarity is great, but so is kindness. Use your words like a scalpel, not a chainsaw, unless you're really sure that you're in the right, and wearing a turtleneck. The Ace of Pentacles is the root of earth, and earth is stable and dependable, unless there's an earthquake, or you forget to pay your rent. This card is the beginning of something real, something tangible. It's the first coin in the piggy bank, the first brick in the foundation, the first seed in the soil. It doesn't shout or rush, it just is, present, grounded, and full of promise. If the other aces are fireworks, tears and plot twists, then the Ace of Pentacles is a cup of tea after you've finally paid off a debt. It's the smell of fresh bread, a new job offer, a walk in the woods where you hid that body. It's kind of amazing because it's where we all exist. When it appears in a reading, the message is simple. Something good is taking root. It could be financial, physical, or just a gentle reminder that your dreams need compost and not just stardust. Build it slow, build it steady, and watch it take shape. The goat is just here for tax purposes. So something the aces all have in common is potential and new beginnings. Now let's have a quick look at some examples of how that works on our Celtic Cross spread.
Let's pop the Ace of Wands into the present position. This can mean that you're carrying a torch for someone and you're ready to light their fuse. It's hot, exciting, and you should probably wear flame-resistant underpants. Now let's put the Ace of Cups in the crossing position. This could be an emotional flood warning. You want connection, but you might be leaking at the seams. Yes, it's beautiful, but do you really need to fall in love with the barista again? Now let's move the Ace of Cups to the recent past. This could be a healing moment that's brought you to this situation. There were tears, there was growth, there was probably a Spotify playlist. Next, let's try the Ace of Pentacles in the near future. This could mean that you're about to be handed something golden, a chance to build, grow, or at least stop panicking every time you check your bank balance. Now let's put the Ace of Swords in the basis position. You might be flirting on the surface, but deep down you're looking for someone who can handle a debate without crying. Or maybe with crying, depends on your type. Now let's move the Ace of Swords up to the conscious awareness position. This can mean that you consciously desire the truth, clarity, and possibly a Nobel Prize in sarcasm. Moving on to the staff, let's pop the Ace of Pentacles in the self and guidance position. This can be telling you that it's time to get real. The universe is handing you a coin and saying invest wisely, or at least stop leaving it in your jeans on laundry day. Now let's move the Ace of Pentacles up to the environment position. This can mean that the people around you are focused on money, work, or who brought the cheap pork pies to the staff party. Above that, we've got hopes and fears. Let's pop the Ace of Cups there. This could mean that you long for emotional connection, but fear the toenail clippings on the side of the bath. You want love, but you also rather enjoy having the bed to yourself. Finally, let's see the Ace of Wands as the outcome. The ending? Oh no, this is the beginning of something hot. You're walking out of this spread like an action movie hero with a match in your mouth and destiny in your pocket. By the end of all this, you'll be thoroughly lit. In the passionate sense, not the tequila sense. Although, who's judging? I've just started the tequila diet. So far, I've lost 2 days.
Now we're going to touch on what happens if they appear upside down. There's different ways of looking at this, so let's try a few out and see what happens. If the Ace of Wands is all about will, passion and desire, then the reverse card can mean that the energy is blocked. You're still kind of up for it, but it's like trying to light a fire with damp matches. It can also mean that all that energy is going all over the place. We've got the will and desire, but we don't have a solid plan, so everything is descending into chaos. In a relationship sense, it can mean that we might be trying a bit too hard, and maybe we should take a step back and let it breathe. Upright, the Ace of Cups is about emotional beginnings, so when we flip it upside down, it can mean that the feelings are still there, they're just stuck. Sometimes we try to bottle things up and put on a brave face. The problem with that is that repressed emotions can build up inside us until finally the dam bursts. If you ever see the reversed Ace of Cups followed by the Tower, then there's a good chance that's what's happening, so pay attention to your feelings. The Ace of Swords in the upright position is all about planning and the desire for truth. When it turns up reversed, it can mean that we've got all the will and desire in the world to do something, but we're not doing anything definite to get started, so we're stuck at the point where we're just dreaming about whatever it is. In the truth aspect, it can mean that we're not seeing things as they really are. Troubles are exaggerated and we don't have a clear sense of reality. The sword is still sharp, but it's pointing in the wrong direction. The upside down ace can be telling you to think before you act. Finally, if the Ace of Pentacles upright is all about material opportunities, then the reverse card can mean wasted opportunities. The seed hasn't been watered and it's not growing. It can also indicate that the material gifts of the Pentacles are leading to greed, selfishness, or an over-reliance on comfort and luxury.
I think solitary confinement is a luxury. You're on your own there.
Kabby's quest. Kabby's quest.
So there you have it, 4 divine hands, 4 cosmic jump starts, and a whole load of floating about on mysterious clouds. The aces aren't about guarantees, they're not promises, they're invitations, opportunities. The first nudge from the universe that something wants to happen, but it's still up to you to take hold of it and use it properly. They're the spark, not the fire, the seed, not the tree, the idea, not the completed IKEA bookshelf with half a dozen leftover screws at the end that you never found a place for, so you just have to convince yourself that they were spares. So the next time an ace shows up, don't just nod sagely and move on. Ask yourself, what is life offering me here? Am I going to take it or leave it floating about in the air like a forgotten donut? Rachel Pollack says, we receive these primal experiences as a gift from life. We cannot cause or produce them by any normal means. They come to us as gifts from clouds.
There's a moral to this story. The next time the universe sends you a message, don't leave it on read. Whatever that means. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, then please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. May the coming days bring you fresh starts and new opportunities. Until next time.